Believe it or not, Week 9 college football 2023 is here. I feel like it was just like a couple of weeks ago. I was doing a preseason preview of all these teams, and now we're here. It's sad, but it's still good. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Brian. I am not Bobby. I hope you subscribe. And hit the thumbs up and so on. My mind just totally went blank there. I am going to go over some of the important games that we have going on this week. It's really odd to see some teams playing in what used to be big games, and now it's not big games anymore. Florida, Georgia, I'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, if you're a Clemson fan, you haven't seen this already. I did my prediction for the Clemson-NC State game yesterday. That video is getting a ton of views as we speak. And I really appreciate everyone who's been reaching out to me, giving me comments and so on. I really do appreciate it. So let's dive right in to the schedule for this week. Now, starting a couple of weeks ago, college football has a football game every Tuesday night. I believe every Wednesday night from this point out. And I was at one of those games. I was at the Coastal Appalachian State game. It was a great game. It's already almost 2.5 weeks past that game. It's crazy already. But tonight, there's some games that are going to be on this Thursday night. Syracuse and Virginia Tech. But who cares about that? Let's get to Saturday. The Florida State Seminoles, who they're running the ACC. After North Carolina did whatever they did with Virginia the other day, lost the game, embarrassingly loses to not just an okay team. We're talking about the worst team in the ACC. Florida State is firmly in command of the ACC. They're completely and totally in control. They play at Wake Forest. They're a 20.5-point favorite. The over-under is 51 points. I'm shocked it's not more. Wake Forest is 4-3. Yeah, Clemson, the same record that we have. I think it's going to get worse. But yeah, Florida State coming in playing against Wake Forest. They're coming off the win against Duke. They had to play against Riley Leonard a little bit, but hey, they ended up winning. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So Florida State, 12 o'clock this coming Saturday. I see them winning this ball game. I'll actually take the over on the 51 points. I take over on that. I will be shocked if Florida State does not go, just them alone, if they don't go over the 51 points. Although, how hilarious would it be if Wake Forest beat them? That's not going to happen. Wake Forest is going to lose. Now, moving on to a team who had a couple of weeks ago one of the biggest wins for them recently, played in the most exciting game I've watched in quite a while, had a week off, and then this past weekend, and I told you that Gus Malzahn in Central Florida. I told you that Gus Malzahn is incredible at coaching in big games. The undermining of his coaching history has been outside of the big games. When you get him outside of the big games, it's almost like he doesn't even prepare. He'll come in against a brilliant team, coach his brains out, beat them, or get close to beating them. When he goes and he plays doo-doo State will beat him. Because it's like, Gus is just, I don't know. He almost beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma had a scare. They're now 7-0. They're going to Kansas. They're only a 9-point favorite. Kansas, on the other hand, they're 5-2. They're 5-2. They're not looking too bad. 2 seasons in a row that they've accumulated over 5 wins, which is kind of hilarious. This game is going to come down to focus. Now, I think that Oklahoma is going to be ready for this one because of the scare that they just had with Central Florida. I think this week of practice has probably been as close as you can get within the NCAA's limitations of hell on earth for a practice that a team could have. It was not a pretty game. They did not execute well. They won. They got out of it. You can't continue to play like that. In Kansas is looking for a way to keep some momentum. They don't want to drop another game. But I take Oklahoma in this game. They're a 9-point favorite. 65 is the line. I take the under on that. That game starts at 12 o'clock. Now, let's go to just quickly 12 o'clock. Penn State and Indiana play. Penn State, they're 6-1. They just, I think, played their first real team of the season and they lost. They always blow it to Ohio State. This was just one more game where they blew it to Ohio State. They're going to play Indiana. They're a 32-point favorite. The line is 47. I take the over on this one. Penn State wins this ball game. Also at 12 o'clock, our feathered foe, the feathered foe of South Carolina. We're talking about a team that if they were as good at playing football as they are talking trash, they'd be champions. I mean, they've had years and years of practicing how to talk trash and one-liners because they've had nothing to talk about when it comes to playing football. They've had some really good football players come through the door here and there. The Sidney Rices, the Jadeveon Clowneys when he wasn't hurt. But at the end of the day, you get good at what you practice, right? You get really good at what you practice. Winning is not one of them for them. They're 2-5. I expected, as a Clemson fan, that South Carolina would be better. I feel sorry for Spencer Rattler. I really do. And I'll tell you this, Gamecock fans, if you can't win with Shane Beamer, a guy who I have a lot of respect for, I see some of the early traits of Dabo, the Dabo that got Clemson to the 6 consecutive playoffs and the 2 national championships. Not the Dabo that we have today. Well, let me rephrase that. Not the practices of Dabo that he's implementing today. If you can't win with Shane Beamer, a young guy who he is a good coach, good luck. Last year you beat Texas A&M. They're 4-3. Jimbo Fisher's on the hot seat. They're paying him way too much. They're a 14.5-point favorite. I think South Carolina, I think you're going to play well with them. And I think you stand a chance in this game. A&M's going to win this ball game. I take the under. 53.5, I take the under. Now, as I said yesterday, I previewed and predicted the Clemson-NC State game. Clemson's a 10-point favorite. I picked them to barely win the ball game, but folks, I wouldn't be shocked if they lost. Go to my breakdown. You can check it out. I'm sorry, Clemson fans. I wished I could lie to myself too, but I'm not going to. Have a bunch of people getting in here on the live stream. Grafnar has joined the Not Bobby Durkins channel. There's a join button below this video. You can ask Grafnar how easy it is, and it's so flipping cheap. It's hilarious. You should at least click it. If you're like, I don't see it, you're probably on an iPhone. You won't see it there. Thank you so much, Grafnar. SC Country's in here. Got Grafnar. We got Tiger Man in here. Sooner History. Good to see you, Sooner History. You've got Brent Venables. We wished we had him back. Big Red. You're right. If they play anything like they did against Miami, they could lose to NC State as well. Thank you all for joining the show. I want to send a special thanks to our sponsor of the show, 4puttcarts.com. 4puttcarts.com. The link is below the description of this video. They're a beverage and snack cart service for golf courses and special events. So you need to reach out to them. You need to reach out to them and tell them that you heard about them from me. If you have a tournament coming up, you're a golf course. I used to work at a golf course. You get overwhelmed. Like, you think you're ready. You think that you have enough personnel. You don't. You need to get them out there. If you have a special event coming up, you're like, why would I want a beverage and cart service? I want you to say that out loud to yourself. Why would I want a beverage and cart service to serve my guest and make it a great time that they rave about? I think you just answered your question there. Reach out to them and let them know that you heard about them from me. Also, the Sawmill Shop. The link is below. We gave away 2 of these last week. It's about time we give away 2 more. I'm going to be talking to Eric and see what we can do to give away a couple of those this week. Just real quick, got Midlands Directory. It's been a long time. You're a member as well. It's good to see you in here. Got DP in here. SC should drop their football program. Yeah, you're right. Dwayne Wicker. It's good to see you, Dwayne. Now I'm going to get back to the show. The Georgia Bulldogs and Florida Gators play in Jacksonville this week, 3:30 CBS. And Georgia, considering Florida is not that good, they're 5-2, but they're not that good. We all know it. They're a shell of history. They look like Florida. They normally play at the Swamp. They have the same fight song. If you go to the Swamp, you're going to see history. You're going to see all the retired jerseys. They are not that Florida team. They're playing Georgia, a team who is 7-0, a team who has 2 national championships in a row after all these years using their talent. After all these years of wasting talent, they could have at least 2 or 3 more national championships than what they do since 1980, but they don't. Because, like Clemson's doing now, they're wasting talent. Coaches can determine, they can be the lid on top of your progress. So you could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the coaching to match it, you're going to lose. Georgia finally has the coaching, especially the last 2 years. That, to me, the verdict's out on Mike Bobo at this point. But they're 7-0. They're a 14.5-point favorite. Florida likes to play up for big games. Ask Tennessee. I still pick Georgia to win this game. I don't see Florida winning this game whatsoever. Georgia's going to play up. They have more at stake. And the only thing I could see working in Florida's favor, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brock Bowers is out for weeks. So maybe that helps him. He is that guy. I believe Brock Bowers is one of the best college football players, period. I'm not talking about tight ends. I'm not talking about receiving or on offense. I believe Brock Bowers. Georgia has the best football player in college football, Brock Bowers. I believe that. That you can't stop him. You can't stop him. Throw the ball near him, he catches it. Try to tackle him, he breaks through it. They know, the team knows the ball is going to him. They can't stop it. Well, it's because that Georgia line has nothing to do with how well he catches the ball and breaks tackles and gets open and all that bunch of crap. Brock Bowers is the man. They're going to win this game. I hate it, but they're going to win this game. Texas, 6-1. They're playing against BYU. It's in Austin. It's a 3:30 game. BYU's 5-2. The Longhorns are 18-point favorites. Don't sleep on BYU. I don't believe that they're that good. I'm just saying they have a tendency from time to time to play up for games. I believe this would be one of those games. As soon as I say that, Texas beats them by 79 points, and you're like, you have no clue what you're talking about. The comment section is blowing up, and it's hilarious. I picked the Longhorns to win this ball game. The over-under is 50. I take the under. Another game, 3:30. The Oregon Ducks travel to the Utah Utes. Both teams are 6-1. Now, Oregon coming off that loss to Washington. That was the second best game I've watched all year. First game was Oklahoma and Texas. Oregon and Washington was very entertaining. Oregon has a lot to play for. In my opinion, there's not one team in college football that I look at and go, they are on the mountaintop, they're unbeatable. I don't see that. So Oregon, teams like Oregon, Texas, any one-loss team kind of like them has a lot to play for. Utah, if they had Cam Rising coming back, I would go that far to say that about them, but they don't have him. I believe they would be undefeated right now had they had Cam Rising playing for them. Even with that, Oregon, 6.5-point favorite. The over-under, 47.5. I take the under. I take Oregon winning this game in a nail-biter. But let me say this to you Ute fans. I believe y'all still stand a chance of winning this ball game. Y'all play very well against Oregon. You two are a pain in each other's butt, kind of like Oregon and Washington is a pain in each other's butt, right? So I could see this being. I could see this game swinging either way, but I pick Oregon to win this game. An interesting game at 3:30 in the ACC, Duke at Louisville. Duke just got their second loss. The first loss was to Notre Dame. Louisville, they lost to Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. An unexplainable loss. Louisville is a 4-point favorite. They're a 4-point favorite in this ball game. I believe it's a toss. This game is a toss-up to me. This is a very difficult game to call because Duke has a lot of talent on the team across the board. It's not just like Riley Leonard was going out there and just playing his brains out, and it really didn't matter. I mean, somebody's over on the sideline texting on their phone. It didn't. No, the Duke team as a whole plays quite well. This is not your grandpa's Duke team. Louisville is a 4-point favorite. I believe that Duke wins this game. It's going to be a good fight. Bellin, the backup quarterback, he's going to have to do his part. He only threw 12 passes against NC State and only completed 4 of them. And they still beat NC State. Louisville is better than NC State. They have progressed. So I still pick Duke, but this is a toss-up. This is a very tough game to call. And for that, I take the under. 46.5 points. USC just got their second loss handed to them. They're playing California at Cal Berkeley. Cal Berkeley's 3-4. USC is only 11-point favorite. I don't think they lose this one. The over-under is 68 points. I take the under. Southern Cal wins the ball game. Tennessee and Kentucky gets together 7 o'clock this Saturday. Both teams are 5-2. Tennessee, with all of its talent, is only a 3.5-point favorite. You want to take a guess why? Quarterback play. Any Tennessee fan in the preseason who knew anything about football, let me rephrase that, who was honest about the possibilities of their football team, knew one good thing. They knew one thing, that if Joe Milton didn't play well, guess what? It was over. You lost to Florida, a Florida team you had no business losing to. Well, it's tough, Black Swamp. Okay. Apparently, having more talent doesn't matter. Having a better coach doesn't matter. It's just where you play. You know, if you go to Doo-Doo State's field and Doo-Doo State used to win, well, that's an automatic L. Forget talent. Tennessee's only a 3.5-point favorite. I still take Tennessee over Kentucky. I really do. I still take Tennessee over Kentucky. I think it will be a close game. The over-under is 51.5. I take the under. North Carolina, 8 o'clock, plays at Georgia Tech. I remember years ago when this used to decide the conference. Who was going to be like second place behind Florida State. Georgia Tech, they're 3-4. North Carolina, 6-1. North Carolina coming off that embarrassing loss. We can't have any more of that, they're probably thinking. They're 11.5-point favorite over Georgia Tech. The line is 63.5 points. I take the under. I take the Tar Heels. I believe they win this ball game. One very lackluster, yet could be interesting game. Virginia and Miami, 3:30 this Saturday. This is a yawner. You're like, why would you even go over this? Just stick with me, please. Virginia and Miami. Virginia just comes off that massive win. They're a 19-point underdog playing at Miami. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, this is no knock to Miami. I know Slim Shady Canes is in here. But I think that you'll agree with me here. Miami can lose this game. Should they lose this game? No, they can't. No, they shouldn't, excuse me. But they can lose this game. Do they? I think Cristobal is he feels the heat, he feels the pressure. He's going to have them ready. I think they win this ball game. They're a 19-point favorite. That doesn't matter. They should have beat Georgia Tech. And yes, that will live on for the rest of this season. As long as they continue to show little inklings of the same football mindset, the same coaching practices, that will live on, just like us Tigers are having to deal with, well, this mess we're calling a season. I think Miami wins the ball game. Now, I'm going to try to go through some games in the state of South Carolina. I'm here in the state of South Carolina for anyone who, well, I think it's quite obvious that I'm in the state of South Carolina. But if my memory serves me correct, Coastal Carolina plays at Marshall this week. And for some reason, it is, I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure that they do. Yes, they play 6 o'clock this Saturday. Marshall will actually be in Conway against Coastal Carolina. Grayson McCall is doubtful for the game. So that's going to give Marshall a chance in this game. And Marshall was probably the favorite. I don't have the line in front of me. I hope that Chanticleers can pull it out, but transparently, I think Marshall's probably going to beat them, especially if Grayson McCall doesn't go. It's really interesting. The Furman Paladins, this is for my South Carolina people, state of South Carolina. Furman Paladins, they're looking pretty doggone good. They're first in the Southern Conference. They just came off of a win against Western Carolina, 29-17. This week at Furman Stadium, they're playing Eastern Tennessee State, 2 o'clock. This Furman team looks pretty good. They look pretty good. Will they make a run at the FCS National Championship? That will be a fun one to check out. Now, folks, I'm going to start closing this down here in just a second. I'm going to go through some of these comments. Got my buddy Huffer Billy Paul in here. Got to meet him at the SO Club back at the spring game. It's good to see you, my friends. My friend Still gambles in here. It's good to see you, my friend. Another Bobby Durkins, not Bobby Durkins, member. SEC dog. Fantastic Georgia Bulldog trolling the Kentucky fans. He said they'll be at Rump Arena. Rump. That's funny. That's funny. Seeing John Sarian in here, it's good to see you. John Sarian says, according to some fans, message board and ex-geniuses, they've been telling us bandwagon fans since 2020 Clemson was going to be this bad. Well, I never saw us getting this bad. Wrecked is in here. Hey, not Bobby, are you buying the conspiracy that Tennessee and Clemson were affected by Michigan staffer when they faced South Carolina and lost? No. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. The signal stealing, to me, I know the rules and everything, but to me, it takes a lot of discipline. I mean, yes, you can figure it out, but it takes a lot of discipline to watch signals and figure out exactly what's happening. It takes a lot of discipline. It's not impossible. You can do it, but I just think it's kind of part of the game. Well, you don't supposed to. I know what the rules are. I get it, but I think this is just somebody has something against Jim Harbaugh, and I'm not a Michigan fan. I don't have a dog or a Big Blue in the fight. Something's going on. Somebody has an axe to grind with this guy, because as soon as the whole thing with the NCAA regulations or some type of self-imposed penalty, as soon as it's over, this comes up. Folks, I've been living too long to overlook that when there's clouds forming in the sky and you hear thunder and lightning, that there's rain. And with this is thunder and lightning. The rain's coming. You can see this from a mile away. Somebody has something's wrong. I mean, something's up. Somebody has an axe to grind. And if he gets out of this one, it'll be sexual misconduct. And if he gets out of that and proves that there's no sexual misconduct, they'll say that he somehow stole funds. If you begin to see that happening over and over, someone has an axe to grind, someone powerful, and they're trying to nail him down for whatever reason. I'm telling you, call me a conspiracy theorist. That's totally fine with me. But all you have to do is just be mindful and just pay attention to human activity and read a little history. And you'll be able to see this stuff from a mile away. You won't like it when you see it because you're like, oh, no. Yeah, it's because it's real. Midland's Directory says Coastal was a 4-point underdog. Midland's Directory, I don't know if you know this, but I was at the Appalachian State Coastal game. That was great. I know that you go to the Coastal game, so it's a lot of funds. It's a lot of, I just said funds. What's wrong? Anyway, folks, thanks for joining me. Hope you share this with anyone who loves college football. Hope you'll hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's a great way to support the channel. If you do want to support the channel on a monthly basis, you can hit the join button below. You might not see it if you're on an iPhone. Also, a special shout out to fourputtcarts.com for sponsoring the show. Reach out to them. Let them know that you heard about them. From me, also the Sawmill Shop, reach out to them as well. Folks, I'll catch you next time. Good or bad, as always, go Tigers.